How's it going there, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back once again to the unit. So I said in the last video, basically stay tuned for part 2 of the boot build. Now I have been quite busy. Had a couple of late nights down here, just sort of figuring things out and everything else. And I finally seem to have got a design for how I'm going to do everything. So if you look over my shoulder, if I move that out the way. You'll see that I've got a slanted piece there which goes in line with the front of the sub, top piece there, side piece there to go around the harness bar. So there's only a couple of little bits and pieces I need to just finish off on that side, but I've got the main guts of it done. It was a lot of backwards and forwards, trying on different things, sitting there for, you know, half hour thinking how to do this, how to do that, blah, blah, blah. So I thought I'd rather just get it done so you guys can see the design, and then we can obviously move on from there. So if you also look over my shoulder, you'll see that I've had some goodies delivered. Got my bucket seats. I've only got one down here at the minute. I've got the other one sat at home. Basically 500 quid's worth of seats. I'm pretty sure that I'm safe in here, to be honest. But I'm really conscious about potentially like a mouse or something getting in. And knowing my luck, it would chew the £500 worth of seats, as opposed to an old ZX back seat that I've had sat on the floor for probably 7 months. So what I want to do today is just have a quick tidy up, because the place is a bit messy. I've got stuff sort of laying all over the place. And then basically I'm going to mirror what I've done here onto that side. It's come together really well. Just the same as the other side, mirrored exactly. Now, I did have to change my design ever so slightly, because what I was originally going to do was come from the front corner of the sub to the front of the K-brace. But when I got the seat in and sort of had a look at where harnesses were going to go, space is at an absolute premium. So what I decided was I'll just do a right angle, have a diagonal piece flush with the front of the sub so it all lines up. When that's all carpeted up, that's going to look really good. So yeah, just a couple of bits and pieces that I need to finish off. I need to figure out how I'm going to carpet these sides, basically. I was originally thinking of using the original carpet. That doesn't seem like it's going to work quite as well as I'd hoped. So I'm going to have a think about potentially ply line, well, using the MDF on all of that to get that done. I've got the best part of a sheet of MDF left, which I don't particularly need or want to be storing. So I have got the option of just doing a flat piece here, seeing where it ends up and going from there, really. But yeah, finally got this side done. So just figure out these back pieces, then take it all apart again, take the K-brace out, get that painted. I can then carpet the flat floor, then I'll be able to carpet the sides, everything else, and hopefully that'll all be done before it goes to Carl at KT Bodyshop for paint. So yeah, unfortunately the lighting is really bad now because of the time of day it is, but I'll try and show you as best I can what I've actually managed to achieve. %, or probably 95% of everything built in the back here. There's only a couple of bits and pieces that I need to actually finish. It's not particularly the way I want to do it, but unfortunately I've now got to take it all apart again to get the K-brace out so that I can paint it. It's only bolted in there sort of loosely at the minute. I want to put proper nylock nuts on it and everything else so things can't rattle loose. It was just put in there so that I could sort of position everything. So yeah, take apart 2 boxes either side, take the sub out, take up most of the flat floor in the front. The The bit in the back is perfectly fine, that can stay there. That only needs a couple of little bits tweaking, but that comes down to when I'm actually carpeting it. So yeah, I'll rip all that apart, get the sub out, get the K-brace out. I can get that started in paint, and then I can sort of start to get on with a couple of other jobs to get ready for when it all goes back together. So it's next weekend, it's now Sunday. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have known that yesterday I went down to Farringdon to pick up some seat bases for the Golf. Went down there with my buddy Ryan and got them all sorted yesterday. So unfortunately, by the time I got back and then caught up with family, I wasn't going to get down here to do any work. Now, I was slightly apprehensive about coming down, to be perfectly honest, because on Tuesday basically disaster struck on the yard and we got flooded. Now a fair portion of the yard, I'd say, was probably under a foot, potentially a foot and a half of water, and it did unfortunately get into a lot of the units. It seems that we had a rather large amount of rainfall come down in a very short amount of time, and the drains just couldn't keep up basically. I left work, came down here, and the initial flooding was draining away, and I thought everything was going to be okay. As I was here, standing here talking with the landlords, basically I watched everything just come flying straight back in the yard again, and there was nothing that I could do. Now, thankfully, I've been driving the Ranger, and I was able to get in the yard. If I was in the Golf, it would have been a case of standing at the gate, looking at the water fill up the yard, and not being able to get in to see anything, basically. Now, there was nothing that I could do when it started to flow back in. It was coming in real quick, and basically I just had to get out. Now, I came down later that night when I finished work. I think it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and water had definitely been inside, but I got off lucky compared to most people down here. It did get about halfway back in the unit, so up front was probably under, probably where the front door is was probably under about 4 to 5 inches of water, looking at the marks on the walls. Now, I've had a bit of a look around, and it seems that the worst damage that I've found is all the MDF that I cut up for the boot build in the Golf. One side of that had got wet, and then because I hadn't come down, because I was letting everything dry out, that has expanded, so I've got to recut all of them. But if all I've got to redo is a few bits of MDF when I've got most of the sheet still here, I'm going to take that. I'm happy with that, basically. Up the front, I mainly tend to keep my scrap, and then everything else was sort of just like elevated, or it was tyres, stuff that weren't going to harm, basically. So yeah, very easily could have lost everything. If it had got much higher, then potentially the ramp could have been damaged, and I could have been looking at quite a big build to replace everything, basically. So I'm pretty thankful that that I got off as lightly as I did. Everything seems to be drying out. There's a few wet patches here and there, just from where stuff's been sat, but it definitely did bring in a fair amount of water, and yeah, so it was a close call, to say the least, and like I say, I'm very thankful for how lightly I got off, but could have been pretty close. So as it stands at the minute, I've just got the K-brace drying behind the camera. That's looking really good, so I'm pleased with that. That's just going to go to Carl to be lacquered, just so it's got a bit of extra protection, because it's going to have the harnesses going around it. It's obviously going to get rubbed a bit, so yeah, I thought that'd be best just give it that bit of extra protection on it, basically. And then I've got the seat bases, like I say, so I'm going to have a look at getting one of them in, seeing if the seat will fit on top, see if I need to drill any holes or anything like that. But I'm hoping that everything's going to line up, basically. So yeah, we'll get that done, and then I suppose I better start having a look at pushing the Golf back forward again and getting on with cutting the MDF.